he's not wrong. There are those degenerate loser players that feel like they can only do the most efficient thing no matter what. And he's not wrong. Those players are pieces of shit. And they're the reason that a lot of us get really frustrated when we're gathering at, I don't know, Pilgrim's Haven, and they raid by and they're like, loser, why would you life skill? What an idiot. I'm on my way to Crescents. And then you just turn around and you go back at him. Isn't Crescents that way? They're like, you're still a loser. I'm just lost. Like, okay, buddy, sounds good. Just play the game the way that you want to play the game. Okay, so we've watched one of this guy's videos before, I believe. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not subscribed, so probably not. But this guy made a video about Black Desert and the paradox of efficiency, or efficiently wasting time. Black Desert and the paradox of efficiently wasting time. And like, this is something that BDO players struggle, honestly, players in like the gaming space struggle with across the board in like MMOs, is like the fight to be efficient and progress against the fight of enjoying the game and, you know, taking your time. You know what I mean? And like sometimes being sweaty means happiness. Sometimes people like being sweaty. Sometimes people like being crazy efficient. But at a certain point, you are going to reach burnout phase. And so it's something that all Black Desert players face. I'd love to see his take on it, and then I'll give my take on it as well.
Welcome to my 36th video. This time, I have yet another discussion video for you.
Okay, I'm just gonna, all right, quick critique. Could we please put the game in remastered before doing this? I can't see if your character actually has boobs. The background is all comped up, the foreground's everything's all up.
So, let's talk about efficiency in BDO. Chances are, if you've ever played BDO, you already know all about.
What do you think we're gonna get as rewards for the next ball? And what do you think will be announced? BDO is a good game for crying out loud. Oh, that's a good question. The next Heidel or the next Calpheon ball. I think it's hardcore servers right around the corner. I think that they're going to pat themselves on the back for the wonderful state of PvP. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. I'm like being 100% serious. I think that they're going to once again congratulate themselves on a job well done for the Node War system, and like players enjoying that system and, you know, whatnot, and like their constant efforts to improve it, blah, blah, blah. And then I think probably more guild boss splits. The next expansion will be announced, and then they'll tease the next class as well. How you doing, Zhao?
About it, but just so
as far as the rewards that we get for the ball, we'll probably get 2 hammers. One might be an accessory hammer, but we'll get the same thing: crons, hammers, etc. Like they're not gonna change up that recipe. They're pretty happy with the state of the game currently. I'll be honest. Free T10 for the 10th anniversary. They might give us something cool, right? They might give us something cool, like, oh, hey, here's a free pen demo or some crazy shit. But like, or a free TET demo. You know, it is what it is. But like, I think that they're really happy with the current state of their game and the direction of their game. I think that they don't really care that a lot of players have stopped playing. They say good riddance, and they think that they're going to come back, and only time will tell.
I can be certain that we are talking about the same thing. Let's describe what efficiency can look like. Efficiency in BDO can have many forms that can be somewhat tame, such as when it comes to choosing your class in your subsequent build, but it can grow to something more sinister, such as choosing certain activities or grind spots over others. Depending on when you started BDO, you probably already know a few. For the longest time, this was the make a seasonal Valkyrie, Zerker, or maybe a Ranger and go to Centaurs with.
Sorry guys, I'm trying to get
Grace to make 800 million an hour.
I'll wait until I see a
Everything
good
else
shot.
sucks, which over time got morphed into.
There we go. So this guy is playing a tamer in what looks like the maid outfit with the Badaka hat.
Graduate from season and go to orcs until you silver 100 gear score, everything else sucks. Of course, this goes both ways. Something I experience very often since I love grinding at mid-game or completely forgotten and not done spots is the question of why are you here? You might have also heard the phrase of you are griefing yourself by doing X or going to Y spot, or don't waste your time doing that, do this instead. In essence,
I do want to point out the irony of him grinding Hex Marie while explaining efficiency. It's ironically good for the video that he's grinding somewhere that is kind of useless. You know what I mean? Like, you know what? But you enjoy it, so more power to you, King. Keep slaying, King. But he's actually touching on something that, again, a lot of players just have no idea how to tackle, and that's why a lot of players quit BDO. It's because they're not able to accurately balance. They feel like they have to grind at one certain spot, and if they're not grinding at that location, they can't do anything else in the game. These are the same players that say that Black Desert is not a sandbox MMO. It's because they feel like they can only do one activity. They don't have a choice between the activities, and the reason that they don't have a choice is because they physically cannot do something unless it is the best silver per hour in the game. We all know who I'm talking about. These players literally, like, they're the same people. They always comment on my videos saying, "Oh, well, it's just not a sandbox anymore. It doesn't feel like a sandbox. You know, all I feel like all I have to do is grind to orcs every day." Like he said, like, there it is. Like, yeah, like you can absolutely go just sail around on your boat. You can absolutely go life skill and stuff. But here's the thing. Those things are going to be way less efficient in terms of silver per hour. And that's just the truth. Okay. And I think one of the biggest problems that BDO has faced is trying to keep the life skills and stuff in line. Like, it's one thing, like, because I can see it from their perspective, right? It's one thing to say that, like, oh, well, you could just go grind another spot or go life skill, right? And it's still a sandbox. But it really doesn't feel as much like a sandbox from their perspective when, okay, I can grind this one spot for 2.2 billion silver an hour, or I can go gather for 400 billion silver an hour. Like, there comes a point where, like, you're not willing to grief yourself that much to go do a different activity. I personally have never cared, right? But, like, they do need to keep things, like, reasonably close. It's okay to have one thing, like grinding, that is significantly better than everything else. But, like, the developers need to keep it close enough, like life skilling, sailing, and everything, and PvP even, close enough that, like, okay, you don't feel like you're wasting your time because you're doing a different activity. Right. And that's what I think a lot of players really struggle with. Yeah, there's a certain amount of that where the player needs to let go of being hyper efficient. But then there's also, it does land on the developers too, to, like, at least make things feel like it's a reasonable pursuit to go out and want to gather on or, like, I don't know, Polly's forest mushrooms for a while. You know what I mean?
efficiency in BDO could be summed up by doing the activity that gives you the most silver per hour.
The game stopped being a sandbox with the introduction of Marnie's Realm, and even more so with the dead introduction of open world PvP. I don't understand how you could think that Marnie's Realm somehow contributes to it not being a sandbox MMO. That doesn't make any sense. A sandbox MMO, like, you by definition, you're contradicting yourself. A sandbox MMO, by definition, has a lot of different things that you can do with your time. Right? Or that you should feel that you can do with your time. It is what it is, okay? Marnie's Realm took one of those things and it made it so that you could do that more frequently without being interrupted. It did not limit the amount of activities that you could do. It simply made it so that you could do that activity without being interrupted anymore. Like, at least for an hour at a time. So it didn't limit the amount of things that you can do in the game. And then the open world PvP changes, like the deck changes that you're talking about. Open world PvP is still, and I'm gonna approach this from the developer's perspective, and then I'm gonna approach it from my perspective. Okay, from the developer's perspective, open world PvP is alive and well, and they have fixed it. Okay, they did not take it away with the one-sided deck changes. They fixed it, and now you can do it on Arsha, and and be okay. They didn't take it away from you. They just made it so that you have to do it on one specific channel, or two specific channels in this case. My perspective on that is it is a fair, kind of a fair argument to say that the one-sided deck changes took away an aspect of the game, because they killed open world PvP on any channel but Arsha. And that is, in my opinion, removing an aspect of the game and making it more of a theme park game and less of a sandbox. That's a fair argument. But the Marnie's Realm, no. The only argument that Marnie's Realm limits your ability to make the game a sandbox is now you can't kill people when they're in Marnie's Realm, but you can still kill people when they're outside of Marnie's Realm and like just wandering around on Arsha. And if your objective is to just go kill somebody out in the world, you can still do that. They haven't taken that from you. It's just that for 1 hour, players can choose not to be disrupted while they're grinding. You can go kill somebody else. What the developers took away from you was the ability to harass a player, a one specific player in particular. If your goal is to genuinely just go kill whoever, you were not really affected too much by the Marnie Realm changes. Sure, there are a few less people to kill, but you could still ride around and kill people. It did, however, take away your ability to harass other players, which, in my opinion, makes it more of a sandbox MMO, mainly because there are more players that can enjoy the game more actively. Through more avenues. Yeah, sure, you can't punish one particular player and harass them until they quit the game and want to kill themselves in real life, which players do. But like, it does help the state of the game overall.
Or by proxy, an activity that gets you to the end game the fastest. Alright, now that we know what it...
How many servers does BDO have? Well, there are channels and there are servers. On the North American server, we have this many channels that I can go to. There's a lot of them, like a massive amount. So again, and you can swap to these I can swap to without a cooldown, like these ones with the shield. I can swap to without a cooldown, and the other ones I have a 5-minute cooldown. So like Marnie's Realm, again, didn't really limit people at all. Like it really didn't. As far as like servers globally, there's like NA, EU, South America, Asia, Korea, Japan, Russia, Console, and MENA.
It roughly stands for. Some of you might be thinking that there is nothing wrong with efficiency. And you are correct to an extent. There is nothing wrong with being efficient in and of itself. Personally, I also enjoy efficiency in some cases, although my preferred method is by min-maxing builds for specific grind spots, such as Elvia. I'm going to play my cards a bit early here and say that the problems are tied to the efficiency versus fun dilemma. When efficiency and fun intertwine, perfect. The issue only appears when this balance is not achieved. The problems really appear in two parts, and I will...
Perfectly stated. The problem only, it's no big deal being efficient when you're enjoying the game. It's being efficient when you're not enjoying the game becomes a serious problem. That's why players quit the game. That's what contributes to burnout.
We'll mention them now, and then we will go through them one by one. I'm going to call these two.
So the active 16K players are split between all those channels. Oh, no, sweetie. So let's say that Steam accounts for 50% of the overall player base, which is probably roughly true. Right? That means that overall there are 25,000 players playing Black Desert worldwide. Of the 25,000 players playing Black Desert worldwide, there's a separation on the different servers. I think Steam is available for NA, EU, South America, MENA, and Asia. It's what, 5 servers, right? So let's say that there's 5 servers. So there's 25,000 players. And again, this is just spitballing. Japan could have Steam too. I have no idea. But like, we're just going to say for happenstance that there's 5,000 players currently playing in North America. Okay. Those 5,000 players are then split onto 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. 45 different servers. So they're, now This is assuming, of course, and so this figure is wrong for a region like North America because there are a lot more players. These players on Steam, or like the total player base of 25,000, well, it's kind of lopsided. EU makes up the majority of that, and then there are players that like there's a decent amount of NA players, and there's probably a significant amount less amount of South America, if that makes sense, etc. Right? So like there's definitely more than 111 players on a server, although probably not much more. I would say it's probably per channel, maybe 200 players. Maybe. Like if I walk over to, and a lot of them are AFK, right? Yeah, a lot of them are AFK. So like you can see a few of them AFK horsing right now. I'm on Balanos 3 right now. All right, so you can see how few people there are. There's a few adventurers here, and these are the most popular towns in the game. There's, oh my gosh, like 4 people at Velia Storage here, and then there should be a good amount of people here. Yeah, this is like 40 or 50 adventurers here, and this is probably the most populated spot in the whole game right now. And this is the majority of players here. And then if I ride around to the various grind spots in the game, there's probably maybe 50 players, maybe 50 players grinding at the various grind zones in the game right now on this particular server. But you can see that there's really, and these are the most popular cities in the game. Really, like realistically in North America, there's maybe 200 people on each channel, and that's being generous. Some channels may have less, some may have more. Yeah, again, Heidel normally has a lot, but you can see how sparse this is. There's not a single person at the Heidel storage keeper. That's a really bad sign. I'm gonna be honest with you, that's a really bad sign. Normally there's people AFK processing at Heidel storage, but like yeah, there's maybe 100 or 200 players on each channel here. You use Grim compared to what it was 5 months ago. Yeah, I mean, every server's struggling, yeah.
2 problems: enforced efficiency and the efficiency tunnel vision. The names are kind of on the nose, but let's talk about them some more. Enforced efficiency is a problem that arises when you, the efficient player, feel the need to tell another player that they are not playing efficiently, or that they should be doing something else instead of their activity of choice. I would say that most of the time this is well intentioned. You see a new player, for example, grinding for the infinite HP potion, and you'll tell them, don't waste your time, just go grind a real money spot and buy the potion. It's much faster.
I hate to be the actually if you grind for a Tannis element, it's technically the most efficient way. Okay.
That way. In isolation, this is fine.
I'm part of the problem. I understand.
The new player has
I do have an infinite potion guide though for people that want to know where the grind zones are, what the grind spots, the pros and cons of every single grind spot is, and then you can make your decision.
Asked for, they might still appreciate the advice. Most of the time, this works. The new player might try the other money zones out.
UI is really annoying for me for some reason. Never got used to it after all these years. That's unfortunate. I think BDO's UI is pretty solid overall.
And they might like it. No harm, no foul. On the other hand, what can happen is that the new player tries these zones out, doesn't like them, returns back to the infinite potion spots or their choice spot, and now the situation repeats. Either with the same guy who gave him the advice before, who might now say something like, I told you you should have gone here, you are griefing yourself by grinding these dog water spots, or it's someone else who has not witnessed the previous.
I love it. Why is he at Hex Marie? What is this, 2022? My guy. He's running a beast trap. This is not somebody that you can reason with. All right, it's not. He's running a seafood cron meal and a beast trap. Is that a seafood cron meal? I can't tell because it's kind of faded. It could be a simple cron meal.
This interaction, who now also tells the player to just go orcs instead. You probably already know where I'm going with this. A couple of
Oh yeah, no, he does have the exquisite on. So wait, what the f is this? Yeah, he does have the exquisite cron meal on. What the hell is this then? I don't know. I have no idea. some event shit. He's popping all of his drop buffs here. I have no idea.
Paragraphs ago.
He's exploiting two. It's 2 food, 1 grind. 2 food, 1 grind. Somebody put a post on Reddit.
I talked about achieving the balance between efficiency and fun, but there was something I didn't mention. This balance can actually be broken, but it mostly works in one way. This is of course the way of having more fun while being less efficient.
I know.
Video games are a form of entertainment after all. They are made to be enjoyable, fun, and relaxing. They are not supposed to feel like a job or something that you do out of necessity or because you feel forced to.
I'm playing devil's advocate here. I understand that he's absolutely right that like there's half of this where like the player is at fault for like wanting to constantly only do the thing that is most like efficient, right? But like also it's on the developers to try to make things within reason, right? Like I think that a lot of players, or the vast majority of players, would be okay grinding a spot that they actually enjoy as long as it wasn't a certain threshold below what they could be grinding, right? So like if they could be making 2.2 billion an hour is like the line, right? Like, oh my god, you know, for an end game player. But they really like they really enjoy like GIF and Raza Underground. Well, they're probably not going to sacrifice, and the bar for that is like, well, if GIF and Raza is like here, right? And GIF and Raza Underground is like, I don't know, 1.5 billion an hour. They might be willing to sacrifice this. And even then, that's a little bit low. But the reality of the situation is GIF and Raza is not there. GIF and Raza is actually down here. And you're looking at closer to like 1 billion an hour or 1.1 billion an hour or so at GIF and Raza, right? And a player is not like, they're going to feel like they're griefing themselves. If this gap, right, between what they are doing and what they want to be doing is too big, then it's on the developers. In my opinion, in my genuine opinion, like if the gap is close enough, like within 500 to 700 million, you know, or something like that, or even if we talk about life scaling, if you compare it to something else entirely, right? Like where's the bar if somebody wants to go sailing, right? Okay, well, you can make 2.2 billion silver an hour grinding, or you can make, I don't know if the screen is low enough, you know what I mean? Like if to make this line, or you can make 400 million an hour sailing, right? So I really want to be sailing, right? But the gap between sailing and what I could be doing is so catastrophically big that you're just like, well, I don't really feel like I could go sailing anymore because like I'd have to sail for like, you know, 6 hours to make what I could in one, right? And you can't even sail for 6 hours. Because, like, my bartering routes are finished in 3. So, like, it's kind of like the developers have definitely fallen off the ball on this a little bit. But, yeah, some of it's on the player. He's absolutely right. Like, you need to be able to, like, set aside, okay, yeah, I'm not going to make the most efficient silver per hour, but I am enjoying myself, right? Like, there's also, like, this line here where players are willing to tolerate this sort of thing.
People will much rather do something that is fun to them, even if it makes them less of the virtual currency or other would-be rewards, and everyone is different, so everyone finds fun in different things, which goes even more for BDO, since it is a sandbox MMO. So all you accomplish by telling a person to go to an XYZ best spot in the game, especially after they explicitly tell you they don't want to do it, is an argument. You will not change their mind, they will.
Well, there's also an aspect of this that, like, when a new player comes into my chat and goes, Blue, where should I be grinding at this AP? Well, I'm not going to tell them my favorite grind zone to grind at that AP. I'm going to say, you're going to go to Dekia Crescents, or you're going to go to Orcs. I'm going to give them the most efficient grind zone, right? When I made my video on the most efficient grind zones in the game, or just like where to grind in BDO, I went through the most efficient spots because that's where players want to know where to go grind, and that's just how it is, right? Like a player, because again, the gap between Orcs and Sakraya are reasonably close. This is a good example. Orcs and Sakraya in silver per hour are reasonably close. But if you look over at Castle Ruins, which is like the party grind zone there, the gap between Orcs and Castle Ruins is catastrophic. So like you're asking a player to basically grief themselves by 70% of their income to go grind with their friends. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. Like, no one is going to go do that. Like that, and that's the developer's fault. Like, hold PA accountable where they need to be accountable, but also hold players accountable where they need to be.
Don't go to the spot because they don't want to be there. So it's better to just stop trying. That being said, the balance can be broken the other way too. But
the same can go for Basilisk Den and Centaurs. Compare the two. Bassi Den is like what? Waragon's Nest. Like, what are we talking about?
this will only work for a short time. If you tell a person to go grind orcs for a couple of hours, they might agree to it, even if they don't like the zone. But if you tell the same person to grind there for tens, if not hundreds of hours, I struggle to find people who would want to do that, even if they like the spot in the first place.
Last time Centaur was good was 2021. You have giga outdated information. That is an insane take. That is a crazy take. Let's go global grind. Right here. Okay. Where is Agris? 100%. So 287 with Agris. I'd say that's a reasonable, right? That's reasonable. Okay, so as far as like early game grind zones go, Polysaurus, there's no way Polysaurus is 760 million an hour. What the f is going on here? Oh, they're counting the Atanus. Yeah, I promise you it's not that. It's not even remotely close. But like if you grind 300 Atanus elements at Polys first, sure, yeah, you can count those. And then you sell the potion. Yeah, that makes sense. But like no one is going to do that, so the Atanuses are not sellable and should not count towards your thing. But Centaurs is 750 million an hour, which as far as I'm aware is the best solo grind in the game for a new player. Yeah, Miramuk Ruins is below this. You're like, oh, but like there's Monshims and stuff and Fatus. Again, these are taking into account Atanus elements. You're selling you're selling your potion, basically. And players are not selling your potion. So like Centaurs, in terms of raw silver per hour, doesn't have Atanus, doesn't drop the potion piece. And if you take all of that money away from those other grind zones, Centaurs is absolutely, I'm fairly certain, still the best spot that a new player could be grinding. Right? This is pretty good. This is pretty damn good. 750 million hours, really, really good. And it's accurate for what you're kind of making in Centaurs.
All in all, I'm not saying that you should just let the new player do what they want, especially if they go to you for advice. You can tell them to go to the efficient spots and whatnot. They tell you that they don't want to do that, don't force them. But that is the smaller problem out of the way. This will only affect a relatively small part of the player base, and at the end of the day, this is more of a symptom of the larger issue at hand. The issue that I have decided
Rackhill, we're watching one of your videos later.
To call the efficiency tunnel vision. Now, as the name suggests, this problem happens when a player decides to ignore part of the game for the sake of efficiency. The previous example of going to orcs instead of the infinite potion spot works here as well, although this time it is just one person who decides to do this for themselves. Obviously, this is not limited to that example and happens every time someone decides to only do the activity that is the most money or EXP or some other type of reward per hour. These people will then tell you that there is no reason to do X or that everything else sucks and that it's just wasting their time, etc, etc.
He's not wrong. There are those degenerate loser players that feel like they can only do the most efficient thing no matter what. And he's not wrong. Those players are pieces of shit. And they're the reason that a lot of us get really frustrated when we're gathering at, I don't know, Pilgrim's Haven and they raid by and they're like, loser! Why would you life skill? What an idiot! I'm on my way to Crescents. And then you just turn around and you go back at him. Isn't Crescents that way? They're like, you're still a loser. I'm just lost. Like, okay, buddy, sounds good. Just play the game the way that you want to play the game. It is what it is. But like I said before, part of this is on the developers, right? You can't have like this massive discrepancy. And like, okay, for example, trading, like the passive trade crates, right? You can't tell me that it's sure, is it an efficiency thing? Sure, but like you can have workers working around the clock for 6 straight months, perfect workers with perfect skills and everything, creating things, and then move them all across the world with your day. It's just like constantly moving back and forth and stuff. And then at the end of it, you make 2 billion whole silver. Right? Like, that's griefing. It doesn't matter who you are. Like, if you like trading, that's amazing. But it's also like 98% of players are going to agree, yeah, that's just not worth doing. No matter if you like it or not, it's kind of irrelevant. It's just not, it's not a system that you feel like you can do within the game, right? So like certain systems in the game need to be buffed to bring them at least in like a reasonable line, right? With like the top end systems. Not everything needs to make the same amount of money, and he's making an excellent point that like players need to let go of this, oh, I have to be efficient all the time thing. But like there's also an element of this, it's like, come on, update the old systems, we want to make a little bit more money, right? Like,
its own. There is nothing that much wrong with this line of thinking, as
consider how much you make with alchemy with tens of billions invested. I can tell you how much money I made with alchemy, but it's a negative number. I'm like Guru 12 alchemy.
this doesn't really hurt anyone else but the person themselves. The problem only shows its face. In this case, when a person with this type of efficiency tunnel vision starts saying that the game is boring or that it has no content and so on. But it is kind of obvious that it has no content in your eyes when you ignore 90% of it. And this leads me to what I'm going to be talking about next. As we have explained these problems, there is one thing that we haven't really touched upon, and that is why these are problems in the first place. Well, the answer is simple. They turn BDO into something other than just a video game. Video games, as I have said many times by now on this channel and even in this video, are a form of entertainment. They are supposed to be fun.
They absolutely are, but like, let's not pretend for a second that the 30,000 hours or 40,000 or whatever that we've all spent on BDO and we're still like, we're going to use the argument, oh, it's just a game. I think it is more than a game for a lot of people, especially when you look at like the communities and friends that they've made over the years here. So like, I think that like on the one hand, he's absolutely right. It's a video game. You should be enjoying yourself. But also, I think we've kind of moved past this. It's just a game for a lot of people because like that's where you make, it's a hobby. Yeah, right. It's a hobby where you make friends, right? Like that. A lot of times you end up meeting in real life, or sometimes you don't. Like, but like either way, you have great experiences with, and like it is used for entertainment, but it's also, you know, some of my favorite moments for my life have been a direct result of BDO, and some of the worst moments in my life have been a direct result of BDO. Right, getting fired from my job was not pleasant, but succeeding as a content creator has been pleasant. So like here we are.
And yes,
I met my girlfriend in BDO, and both of you are doing wonderfully. I'm going to refrain from making a joke here. I'm holding back right now.
efficiency can be fun, but most of the time,
I'm gonna let it go.
Isn't. This
I'm gonna let it
leads
go.
to games feeling like jobs, because instead of turning games,
Your name is Shy with, I'm so sorry. Your name is Shy with Axe BDO, and I just have to, you met your girlfriend in BDO. It's not, never mind.
on and asking the question,
It's not one of your characters, is it? Like, I met my girlfriend in BDO too. Get off my horse! Fucking bitch! I met my girlfriend in BDO too.
what do I want to do today? We are asking the question, what do I have to do today? And by doing this consistently, you will only grow to resent the activity and the game itself, and you will burn out and eventually quit the game entirely. I should probably make it clear that I am not arguing for playing inefficiently. I think that telling you to play inefficiently is in effect the same as telling you to play efficiently. No, my main point is that you should be playing in a way that you yourself find fun. The last question that I have for this video is something
Yeah, I mean, there's always a delicate line of like, yeah, I'm admitting that I'm griefing myself, but I'm having more fun doing this than the other thing. But again, This is part of the reason I made a 2K mastery life skilling set. Like across the board, I can do basically every life skill in the game, even alchemy with 2000 mastery, right? So like, it's because I didn't want to feel like I was griefing myself if I wanted to do other things. And I haven't actually used, yeah, I haven't actually used my life skilling set or my gear in a long time, but like they're there if I need them. I also have 2 fully geared Carracks. Well, one of them is fully blue geared. The other one only has the cannon.
Thing that I will also ask you people in the audience, and it is the question behind all of this. Why do people feel the need to be
I almost lost my X over BDO. I respect that. Did you delete your character and then cancel it?
efficient in MMOs? The idea of efficiency does exist in some other video games as well, but those games are usually built around it. Some of you right now have probably said that MMOs are built around efficiency as well, but I would have to disagree. The main difference here is that with the games that are built around efficiency, such as resource management games like Factorio or real-time strategy like StarCraft, is that the resources in those games are often, if not always, limited. Therefore, efficiency in those games is, if not necessary, then at least
it's not a fair comparison to compare it to StarCraft. It's not even remotely fair. In StarCraft 2, I'll use StarCraft 2 because that's my frame of reference, but it's the same for StarCraft. In StarCraft, are you supposed to be efficient? Absolutely, but you can be efficient doing any build that you want. So, for example, if I'm a Terran player, I can play Marine Marauder Medevac. I'm going to use an old example. I can play Marine Marauder Medevac and then Liberators, right? Or I can play Siege Tank Mech, right? So in both cases, you're going to want to be really efficient with your build, but like you're still enjoying the game because you feel like you can go whatever build that you want. In StarCraft or 111 or Mech and D, oh god, dude, 111 was crazy, bro. You got a couple Banshees, you got a couple Siege Tank, a little everything, and then you just run them down. Anyway, it's different in StarCraft because the only reason that you're not having fun with StarCraft is if you feel like your build that you love to do is no longer relevant. For example, if they remove the 3-gate robo from the game and being efficient, and you're not able to win any of your matches when you, or 4-gate, 3-gate robo, whatever, you go, Starport is a common opener for a lot of Protoss in Legacy of the Void. Like if you want to open with like something other than a Stargate, or for Terran, you now have to open with a Reaper every time. If you don't want to open with a Reaper, you feel like you're griefing yourself. That's a good example of like, okay, well, you have to be efficient's probably not the right word, but you have to do a certain build, and then you can kind of branch out from that path on that point. But like StarCraft's kind of a bad example because it's an RTS, and like you're always being efficient in an RTS, but the fun comes from what type of build you go and then how you adapt to what your opponent is doing. And you're always kind of having fun with that regardless. So like it doesn't really relate in this.
Desire. Silver or whatever other kind of virtual currency an MMO uses isn't limited. Therefore, efficiency is not something that the game actively requires you to do. If I had to boil it down, I would say that there are 2 main reasons why BDO players and kind of all MMO players feel the need to be efficient. You can put your own ideas into the comments down below.
It's a video game, you're trying to be efficient, right?
But for me, it is either to keep up with the current content or the other players, or it is about the idea of wasting your time, because that is the one resource that is limited for all of us. When it comes to the idea of catching up in BDO, I already made a dedicated video on this topic detailing why I believe that BDO is the ultimate casual-friendly MMO, but the TLDW would be that you can play at your own pace, and the content coming out today will stay relevant for way longer than content in any other MMO, with the exception of...
That is true. The Pluralist developers do an exceptional job of making your progress feel relevant even years after you've done it. For example, this guy has, 600 energy almost? That's a really big deal, and even if he logged out today and didn't log in for the next 4 years, that would still be there when he gets back, and it would still be a relevant number, right? Your gear would be a little bit less relevant, but still good, right? It still holds its value much better than most other games.
Maybe like RuneScape and Albion? You don't have to worry about catching up to other players, so you can do raids with them, risking that you might miss the train, and by the time you get to said raids, everyone has already moved on, so getting groups might take a tremendous amount of effort, or in some cases might as well be impossible. And yes, uncapped PvP does still exist in BDO, but there are also forms of capped PvP.
No, it doesn't. Come on. We agreed to be honest with each other at the start of the video. Okay, get out of here. Fucking shit doesn't exist. The only uncapped PvP that I genuinely think that players do is War of the Roses. That's basically it. Siege is uncapped siege. It does not exist, and then it exists, but no one does it. But it exists. Well, then it doesn't exist. Okay, this is if a tree falls in a forest and no one is around to hear it. Does anyone actually give a f about that tree? Okay, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, like if Siege exists and not a single player is doing uncapped Siege every week, then no, it doesn't really exist because nobody's doing it. And they're not doing it because they don't like it. That people love uncapped PvP and BDO. It's just in such a bad spot right now because of what they've done to the game that like players just don't want to do it. Console who? Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. And then uncapped Node Wars, what are we talking about? There's like 2 or 3 guilds that drop for uncapped Node Wars each day, if that. And 2 out of the 3 of them are snipe guilds, just trying to get the rewards. Am I wrong? Like, on every region, basically. Except for Asia, I think, has like 3 guilds that drop consistently, and that's about it. It's just Digi. Yeah, so even the snipe guilds have stopped.
In the case,
how's Throne and Liberty going? It's going really well. I've had I'm gonna have to make a video about it because I don't want to talk about it on stream too much. But I've got shit going on in my personal life that has basically pushed me to a point where I want to sit. I want to play BDO. I need to play BDO right now. And it's not because Throne and Liberty is doing poorly or that Black Desert is doing well. It's because right now I need the game to take me away from what is going on in my life more than I've ever needed it before. And that's just the truth.
of AOS, you don't need any gear at all since the game provides it for you. And finally, the best in slot gear that everyone is chasing now will become much cheaper and or easier to get as time goes on, so you also don't have to worry about grinding as much if you are behind in the first place. Oh, and the game has very few time gates, so you will get rewarded equally to your time spent.
That's actually something I love about BDO is there's very few time gates in BDO except for like the T10, and I'm so glad I'm done with the T10 grind, bro. But like everything else in the game for the most part really doesn't have a time gate. Oh, the world bosses. That is having weapons. But like up until that point.
Based on the activity that you chose to do.
Also,
so that
sailing content. I'm disproving my argument every time I speak. I'm just gonna
is the idea of catching up or competing against other people. And here I would also talk at length about the idea of wasting your time by not playing efficiently, but I think that a single quote sums this better than anything else. And that is that you should remember that the time you enjoy wasting is not wasted time.
That's kind of a base statement right there, guys. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. That's based as people always say this in different terms that you always see people say this. It just doesn't respect your time. My dude, if you enjoyed yourself, it's not disrespecting your time. And that's just the truth. I think that a game is respecting your time as long as you're enjoying the game. If you're not enjoying the game, then yeah, it's... You know what I mean? No, it does not. I feel like my time has been pretty respected, right? I've enjoyed myself.
And that is all I have for you today, handsome. I hope you like this one. Sorry that it took me so long to put together. As I said, this was not the easiest script to write, so I apologize if the video is not up
I take back everything. If that is a tamer in the picture right here, I really appreciate the really low graphic settings. They're beautiful.
To stuff, especially since we had to wait this long. Next video is going to be our next episode in the Iron Man challenge, as I have some good news and potentially some bad news. So stay tuned for that one. With that being said,
Oh my god, he's gonna do an Iron Man. That's like, bro, everybody lately has been like, okay, we're just gonna do a Iron Man. There's just nothing else to be done. I like this video. He had some good takes in here, but I don't think he hit the full issue. I don't think he hit it like nail on head, but he was pretty close. And I think he voiced what a lot of players definitely think. Really good advice here. There, when I graduate, friends from my guild told me to go grind orcs, and I didn't really like it too much. Plus, I was not making a lot of money there. Oh, it's because you're bad. Yeah. Only about 500 million an hour. Now I grind Kratuga, and I'm having fun making 750 million an hour. Or 800 million an hour. Something tells me you're not grinding like that. You just didn't grasp the... I think people should open Garmoth and test spots themselves. No, this is a terrible comment. Guys, if we're talking about efficiency and trying to get players away from being efficient, Garmoth.com does not exist in this dojo, does it? Okay? No, sensei! All right? As a Karate Kid reference, you're all welcome. But like... Do not open Garmoth.com. Garmoth.com is where you all go to sweat. That's where everybody goes to, like, oh god, am I making efficient money per hour? Like, let me, how much can I lie about how much I made this hour? Like, what are we talking about? I found that was pretty fun to test spots on my own and see how I performed on each term, making my own tier list of the most profitable spots by me. By the way, I bought the potion directly from the market. I don't regret it at all. Nice video. Don't go to Garmoth. It's inevitably you will click on the global grind and it will be a disaster. Yeah, a big thing that people can do to avoid like burnout efficiency is just playing a different class. But more often than not, players feel like they have to play like the efficient PvE classes, and then it's kind of a vicious cycle. It's kind of a vicious cycle. But yeah, oh my god, hello. All right.